It's so incredibly difficult to build a trade show, get it to the size of national recognition while keeping it not corporate and staying true to the roots of the cannabis industry. The cannabis industry, we're a community growing into an industry, and Rama, the founder of Hall of Flowers, has done such an amazing job building Hall of Flowers to one of the biggest trade shows in the nation while staying true to our roots. It's not corporate. It's rooted in where the cannabis industry has come from. And it's an incredible place to do business. So in this episode, we have Rama, the founder of Hall of Flowers, joining us today to talk about his journey with branding, where he built his foundation for branding and his awareness in brand promises, how Hall of Flowers got started, as well as what retailers and brands should do to prepare themselves to get the most out of their experience. It was an incredible conversation. I hope you guys enjoy. Well, I've always wanted to ask you this question. How did you get into the space of media and branding?
Well, I did the punk rock record label,
Okay.
and the punk rock record label meant that very DIY, right? So we were doing, and I was doing so much stuff myself, and with like the small couple people that we worked with, or partners or whatever, and band members, etc. And and then I booked a lot of shows, right? So like, if you're looking at true like branding and media, like I'd make a new flyer every few weeks, every week or whatever, print it out at FedEx, used to be called Kinko's, on like a card that someone that used to work there would like give to you because they wanted to get into the shows for free or whatever. You'd like steal essentially like a bunch of printed flyers and go around to shows and hand them out or whatever, and you'd have like real one-on-one interactions with these people. Was this before the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd design the flyer at Kinko's, photocopy style, then print 100 or 200 or 500 or whatever, and then you'd go out. So you were like the designer and the publisher and the promoter all in one, because that's just how you did it back then.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the beginning. And then, we started making the records, and designers cost a lot, and that's a fun part of it. So then I started designing a lot of the album covers and the albums and the brand logos and stuff. I put out 70 records total, maybe, between the different labels, and I designed, I don't know how many, but 20 or 30 of them maybe, or something, like, which is awesome. It was the fun part. And then you'd have to design the ads to promote the stuff, and you would design the posters because they were going on tour, and the T-shirts and the stickers, and but that, to me, that was the fun stuff. Again, this is all pre-internet. Like, we had on
Yeah.
tour, we had maps that you'd have like a giant book you'd flip through and do like a thing and a cross thing, and like look for a street. It was like you'd have to pull over and like for 10 minutes and like look at a map to see where you're going. It was like,
But where did you learn the strategy of branding? We talked about it earlier, and you were getting into brand archetypes and all these things, and that's like the
strategy.
foundational
Yeah. Okay.
strategy.
So there's also an amazing book called Where Good Ideas Come From by Michael Johansson. Or Michael Johansson? Yeah, I think so. Where Good Ideas Come From. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Tommy. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch this video. It's like fucking incredible. Everybody that's watching this, stop what I'm talking. Go watch this video. Way better than me. And it's like, he talks about it as hunches. And he talks about it as hunches coming together to to form like official opinions, and I essentially feel like I have a lot of hunches. So how did it come about is I was doing stuff on my own that I liked, and the art and whatever, and then I'd go meet the first person that knew branding to me was Jason Genevico, who was in a band called The Promise Ring, and he is an incredible artist, and he was a designer for the records that I could afford to do, or he was into. He would design way better than me, 100 times better than me. And, then right from there, it was a guy named Josh Hooten and Tony, and I'm blanking on Tony's last name, and they ran an incredible design agency that we worked with. So their love of, like, the punk scene and their input was design and art. But they were professional, amazing designers and artists. Scott Richter was another one. So I would work hand in hand with these like actual skilled designers, educated designers, we'd be talking about their love, our love, whatever, and then they turned me on to like what this stuff even means, you know. And then
Oh.
and then I discovered Alex Bogowski, and Alex Bogowski is the goat. You know, he is the, I don't know, best brander of our modern time, maybe, or the past decade or two kind of guy. And he was at Crispin Porter, which became Crispin Porter Bogowski CPB Group, the most important advertising agency in the world. And you know, they are the ones that like I fell in love with this idea of marketing, branding. I'd see something I love, they would talk about it, blah 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 blah, and then like the archetype stuff and like the work I do, essentially like how I make money is like I do this for Hall Flowers and for like other companies before that, and that came from a guy named Zach Nadilli, and Zach is like a old friend from the punk rock scene as well. And he kind of at the end came to me recently, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and said, "Hey, like all the stuff that you know from this world, you should build it into like a philosophy and apply it to cannabis." And yeah, so that's a very long way to answer your question, I guess.
With your background,
Yeah.
and when I talk to you, sometimes I picture myself having conversations with my VP of marketing. But you guys are very much alike, and we geek out about brands all the time.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your favorite brands in the industry? Like, what are some companies that are doing it right?
Yeah. I love the question. I mean, I love Pure Beauty. Everyone that knows me knows that I love Pure Beauty. Unbelievable brand, top brand. 710 Labs, incredible brand, 10 out of 10. I love Wonder Brett. I love what Mario did with Sherbinski. Cookies, obviously undeniable. You know, and then we have brands that I've worked on, right? So I'm biased, right? We have a brand called Vacation, a brand called Country, and a brand called Asterisk that I worked on with some other amazing people, like people that are better than me at their jobs for sure, or what they like to do. And then I think Hall of Flowers is an unbelievable brand, right? It's not a cannabis product in a jar, but it is a cannabis licensed company. We have the same thing, So we have a license just like the operators are, and so I think Hall of Flowers is there, and then who else? I'm sure I'm missing a few people that I'm like, why the fuck didn't I say this company? You know what I mean? That I'm loving. I mean, I really Alien Labs, undeniable. Old Pal, incredible brand. The problem with all these companies is like, not the problem, the challenge, I should say, is that time is to tell, right? We're just getting started. So like, perseverance is a term I learned in punk rock, but that's all I talk about now. Is like, can these brands survive long enough to become Green Day or become big enough kind of thing? That's what I'm thinking.
So, what do you like about Pure Beauty? You mentioned them first.
Well, Pure Beauty, I'm obsessed with art. Okay, like contemporary art. It's like that's what I care about probably like the most, and like my passion. And Pure Beauty is based on a show by my favorite artist, American artist, named John Baltazari. And so the name hit me immediately. I was like, I'm already obsessed with this name because of John, and then boom, they use it, and it's incredible. The packaging, the design, the way they tell stories, with their photography and their artwork. It's just, it's best in class, and their product's amazing. Like their weed is incredible, so it's not just like shining shit, you know what I mean? It's like real, it's like a credible product and an incredible brand. So to me, that's what the brand isn't just the liquid, you know what I mean? It's like, it's the brand, the brand's both. What's inside, the bubbles here are superior, and the brand, the corporate identity, as you'd call this, right, would be like that. But inside is just as much of the brand as the labels are, in my opinion,
Yeah, the entire experience. Your brand is everything.
Yeah,
When people call in,
yeah,
how are you?
yeah, the entire experience. That's right, absolutely. Yeah.
Caleb tells me all the time, Tommy, the brand is not the logo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Jeff Bezos was like, the brand is what people say when you're not in the room,
Hmm.
or something like that, So yeah, then of course like Connected and Alien Labs are incredible. CBX incredible. Um, they're all kind of building different brands. Again, you mentioned brand archetype. If you look at brand archetype, it's essentially like a wheel. That's how it's kind of shown to us, and it's built by big ruthless corporations. But this is why like Diageo can have 10 different vodkas and they don't compete, or 10 different beers and they don't compete with each other, because like ultimately the consumers are very different long term. Right now, cannabis, most brands are going like anyone 18 to 80 should buy our product. We're weed for everybody.
Yeah.
And eventually it will get to the point where you're going after a very specific type of audience, just like a car company or any other industry is.
If you were starting a brand
I,
today in the
I would.
industry,
Okay.
what would be your first 5 moves?
Okay. I think you should ask it the other way. What should be my first 5 moves be? But you can do that on the next one. Okay, your 5 moves. Our 5 moves would be. I think the biggest part is where you're building it, because just with the way the laws are now, like it could be better to drive over state lines and set up a business on the other side in a different state. It could be, it, you know, right? So.
Why? Like, what would be different in
Well, just because the
California
laws,
versus?
where the state is. If I was living in the border of Vermont and New York, and I wanted to do weed, I would go to New York to do weed because it's going to be a much
Yeah,
bigger market. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And things like that, right? So at first, and then some people can't move. You're stuck here. Here's where you live. Perfect. So then figure it out from there.
Hmm.
You could also do stuff over the internet, right? But like as far as like blocking and tackling is a lot of the industry, like going to the events, and it's not even an industry yet. It's a community turning into an industry, right? Cannabis is a community evolving into an industry right now.
Hmm.
So you got to be at these things and you got to go to these events, not just because I do the best event, but because you got to go to them, and it's part of the experience, like you mentioned before. Next thing I would say, be careful on the partners, because it's such an infancy stage with the industry that everyone's going in different directions and all these different ways, that the likelihood of you being long-term partners with someone is very low compared to most industries. I've seen it firsthand a bunch of times. And that's messed people up. You get in partnership with someone and 6 months later you have completely different goals, and then the company just fizzles out or whatever.
Mm.
So choose your partners wisely. I would say, and when partners, that's like employees or whatever whatever you put your time and value into, right? I would say number 3 would be location. I would say go to the stuff, right? I would go to, if we were like say like we're going to launch dispensary, we want to open dispensaries or products in Ohio, whatever, I don't know. You and I, we would go there. I would go taste it, check it, secret shop all the stuff. You know what I mean? I would go like learn all the things. When you and I did our little pre-call, I said before, and I do believe it. Interns today are going to be CEOs in 2 or 3 years. Companies, honestly,
Hmm.
like this is so new that after I call it dog years when someone's like. I'm like, hey, how long have you been in cannabis? There you go, oh, 3 years. And I'm like, oh, that's like 21 dog years, cannabis years. Haha, I say it all the time to people. And that's what I truly believe. It really is. You're learning so much because it's just changing so fast.
Hmm.
Other things I would say, stay in your lane, right? And I really mean that. And someone said that to me one time, and it burned. It hurt me, to be honest, inside. My friend John Buscemi said it to me, and it hurt, but he was right. And what I mean by that is, by the time you've figured everything out in cannabis, it will, because right now everyone's doing everything. In that time, next couple of years, you figured everything out, specialists will be needed. So yes, maybe it's a little too early to be like the specialist in this category or this function or this process. But in a year or 2 or 3 or especially 5 or 6 years, it's not going to be. It's going to be the standard. You know what I mean? Like you don't go to one place to do every part of your car or whatever. It's like specialized, right? So
Hmm.
food industry, everything's specialized. Alcohol, everything's specialized. So like it will become that. So be the best at that, but you know, start paddling now, but the wave's coming later. So just be prepared to be still early, I guess.
Hmm. So speaking of brands, you mentioned Hall of Flowers, which
Yeah.
is it's really hard. And I was thinking about this other day of how hard it is to start a trade show,
Sure.
grow it,
Yeah.
keep it grassroots,
Yeah.
and have it polished, but not corporate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, that's a great description of it. Yeah, I mean,
So why I
everything
guess
you said exactly the intention. So I think that's awesome. So thank you. I'll just say thank you for your interesting description. But yeah, I'd say that like thank you. And Hall of Flowers was a ton of work going into it, a ton of investment going into it. Um, and it's done by myself, who I owned a little fashion trade show for a few years called United in Vegas and New York, representing mostly like the streetwear kind of brands. And this is in the late 2000s. And my partners in the show, and the main operator of the show, you know, uh, Danny, comes from the major fashion trade show world. And I essentially was like begging my partners to build a trade show for cannabis similar to their fashion. And then they came in, and Danny really met with a ton of brands, and put the whole plan together essentially to do the show. But it's methodical. you know um, you have to be like possessed essentially to do this kind of stuff. And
and a little bit crazy
yeah, that's
for
why I
sure.
say possessed. You have to, like, and you cannot will that. You have to be crazy. And the experience that they have. And I have a bunch of experience. Again, I was doing events the same amount of capacity as Hall Flowers when I was 16 years old, booking festivals in Massachusetts, and I've done thousands of shows. But this is on a different level.
Hmm.
So I kind of bring the cannabis to the party, is what I say. I bring the weed to the party, at Hall Flowers, and my partners, Danny, he makes it happen, and yeah, it's decades of experience that went into it.
So so what did you see in this industry that pushed you to start Hall of Flowers?
Yeah, I was going to all the other shows that existed, in the hardware space and in the software, the actual weed space. And trade shows exist in every industry on the planet, And I did a trade show, like I said, United, and Danny did Liberty and Capsule, and our partner Aaron did Agenda, and now does Complex Con and Complex Media. So these shows exist, you know. Buying shows, wholesale buying shows, um, and it's incredibly hard to do it in the normal unregulated space for any industry, but in cannabis it's twice as hard because of the regulations. It's 3 or 4 times as hard, to be honest. It's impossible almost. The regulations are so crazy and so difficult to navigate that it's like Danny's like a Terminator, kind of sometimes going out trying to get these cities to approve us to even do these things. It's like we work with the chief of police and the fire department and all these companies, crazy security, and all these things way beyond a normal show would ever have. And you know, um, so the point of entry is just impossible, honestly. And I forget your question.
Uh, what made you start? Like, what was the
Let me
opportunity that
start.
you
As
saw,
we
or the
needed it.
problem that you
I
saw?
needed a booth there. We needed it because we were doing Green Street at the time. Green Street was like 5 or 6 years in.
Hmm.
We had just partnered with Gary Vaynerchuk to come in and take half the company essentially, or he bought half the company to come in and help us ramp it up and everything. And that's when we launched Hall Flowers at the same time. And we needed it as a show, as a company. Like we had brands that we wanted to put into market and we're
Ah.
selling, and
So you were solving a problem that you had. Like,
yeah, we
hey,
had the problem. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
so you decided to just, okay, we have a problem. We need to bring brands in. Let's start a trade show and really execute this.
Yeah. And now the
That's
brands,
amazing.
now I'm not doing the brands really, country's going still in California, but the brands have kind of moved to the East Coast essentially, and we're doing them there. But I'm, fully on Hall of Flowers now because it's just become such a big, crazy project. I knew it was going to be successful. I didn't know it was going to be this crazy. I didn't know it was going to be this influential. I didn't know that we'd have like such a amazing opportunity and platform to like help shape the future of the industry legitimately.
Well, it's definitely the biggest trade show that has remained grassroots. So, and that's a hard feat to pull off.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
you,
yeah, for sure. Well, and the other show that exists out there that is like more of the trade show, in Vegas. Like, if you can't have cannabis at the event, it's not a cannabis event
Mhm.
to us. You know what I mean? So like, I claim and I truly believe we are the best trade show, you know, or event in cannabis in America, and people will be like, "Oh, the Vegas thing," and it's like you can't even have weed there. Like it's like they take it away from you. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like the kids table. You know what I mean? They're just taking your money over there. They have no care. They don't care about us. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I love weed. My mentor, Shep Gordon, very early on said something to me that made me really like go full on with all this stuff. And he said, we were standing around smoking weed. Shep Gordon's like an icon music manager, and he has like the most amazing retirement house of all time on Maui, like the dream scenario, to be honest, for anybody probably in the world. And we're smoking a joint like at his hot tub, and he's like, if the right people don't step up and guide the industry, the wrong people will. And that was like, okay, we're in. I'm doing this. I
Mm.
want weed to be awesome. You know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
there can be the Bud Light of weed and the big mass cultivations and like all that basic stuff too. But like I'm the connoisseur. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
want to make sure that there's also like the the high end of the space. You know what I mean?
It,
Myself, I
you
love
know,
weed.
you saying this makes the name Hall of Flowers makes so much sense for me because I was gonna ask you where'd you come up with the name?
Well, the name came from Danny. He called me one day and he goes, "What do you think about Hall of Flowers?" And I was like, "I love it. Where did that come from?" And he goes, "I'm staring at it." And it's literally the name of like the first building that we rented for the show. He was like doing a site visit, and like the building is called Hall of Flowers.
What? Are
And,
you serious?
yeah, and it's like an old building, and we were like, "That's a fucking beautiful name, incredible name,"
Wow,
Like,
serendipity.
yeah, it's such a well, yeah, he had, we essentially took it from there, right? But yeah, it's like it's the inspiration. It I love the name so much because it's, yes, flower means cannabis, right? And maybe it doesn't technically mean edibles or whatever, but like that has nothing to do with that. It's the plant. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like this is the plant. Like Danny loves weed. You know what I mean? I love weed. I've been smoking weed every day forever. Like since I was 25 essentially, and I it's like an unbelievable thing for me. It's truly medicine.
Hmm.
This plant. And of course people can get carried away with it and all this kind of stuff, and whatever. And personally, I'm not like a big edible person. I do love beverages. Um, I'm a joint smoker. I like concentrates and vapes, but I don't really use them that much.
Yeah, I'm a flower
Um,
guy too.
yeah, I'm like a flower person, and I love rolling the joint and the act of it and the kind of the meditation process of it, um, as well. So, um, but yeah, I'm a lifer in this space. I'm gonna be here forever. Like I want to be proud of this.
Hmm.
I want to have a show and have an industry and a community that my mom is proud of. You know what I mean? And that like our families are proud of, and that's like respected, and and we're on our way there. It's not, and of course, it's like tons of people doing all this. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm just so thankful that Wallflowers could even be such a platform, and you know, and we hope
It's
that
huge.
yeah, we hope that people use it as a platform to to share their expression and launch
Mhm.
their companies and their brands. That's what it's for. It's like we can't we can't yeah, that we say the term like teach people how to fish a lot, right? Like that's what I say. I shouldn't say when I say we, I say it. And that's what Hall of Flowers is. It's like we stock the pond, right, with like the best of the best. Dude, Hall of Flowers, this show coming up in Ventura, there's like 1,100 doors confirmed, retail doors confirmed.
Mm.
It's like I don't know what the total buyers is. It's like 700 or 800 buyers or something that represent the 1,100 locations.
Mhm.
That's fucking nuts. It's like I don't know what the percentage of the state is. I should know, but it's like almost all of them. And everyone that's open almost that's is coming. And then it's sold out already. We're a month out and we sold out of booth space. So it just shows you the value that we provide. But
Yeah.
then of course like some companies and brands don't know how to. If it's fishing, I like to fish. They show up with the wrong equipment. You know what I mean? And they go, oh, whatever excuse, blah blah blah. But you know, but everyone's getting better. They're learning. The trade show.
Yeah. So if it's my first year at Hall of Flowers, my
Yeah,
first year, give me some advice. How should I prepare?
yeah, I love it. I love it. There's like we have like an onboarding whole thing that goes out, but then there's also like a secret off menu like Rama list of stuff. Because I'm obsessed with people. The only thing we care about at Hall Flowers is would you come back again? That's it. It's very simple. We care about one thing at Hall Flowers. Would you come back again? And that goes for buyers. That goes for brands. Was it worth it? You know what I mean? And we want to make sure it was fucking worth it. We want them to be like, fuck yeah, oh my god, you have to do it. And that's what in fashion. That's what my partners had. It was like the show of the show of the show, and people went there and they became rich at the show because they went from 0 accounts to 150 stores or whatever overnight. You know what I mean? They hit the lottery kind of. So how to take advantage to me, it's like all about the prep. It's like you should be setting up appointments, trying to get anything going on. A busy booth creates a busy booth. So you want to have people in there, right? It's so much easier to bring people in. If you're in every account and you don't need it, you should be there anyways and have the C-suite, have the owners sitting in there meeting the accounts that have been buying their product. I'm sure their orders will be bigger the next time, if they have a cool one-on-one with the shop owner and the CFO or CEO or CMO of the company or whatever, you know. So prep is huge. Then be prepared in the booth. I have a brand that they asked me your advice, and I said, "Oh, you want business cards and line sheets and catalogs?" And this person started writing, and I said, "You write business cards down?" And they were like, "Yeah, it's a good idea. We should have business cards for the show." So that to me that's very obvious, but some people maybe it's not, right? So,
Yeah.
because vice versa, stuff's obvious to them that I think blows my mind or whatever, So then it's like you got to be ready at the show. You got to have the right tools, So you want those things, You want to have like some kind of urgency maybe in place where like you can see the product here and we can ship to you by X date if you order by whatever time in the next week or two or whatever it may be. You want to have like marketing and stuff thought out for the upcoming year. Hey, shop XYZ, we do, besides here's our products, we also are going to be doing this. We have this event coming up. We're creating energy this way. We're doing a street team, whatever it may be. Like, how do you sell through, right? It's not just
Mhm.
sell in, it's sell through. That's
Yeah.
the hugest thing. That's what the retailers want. They don't want you to sell in. They want you to sell through. Push five
What is
people.
the support you're gonna give?
Yeah. Push. Help us sell your product. And build
Yeah.
your brand with you. Send people to the shop somehow, type of thing. Get us anything. Get us eyeballs, whatever it may be. Right. So, I think it's like being prepared there. Right. And then I think it's like collecting every account, every business card, hustling. I have a little list that I'm like, don't eat in the booth. Like when I see people eating in the booth, it's like my biggest cringe moment. If I saw like a burrito like next to like someone's product, like on a shelf, just a half-eaten burrito that someone just didn't throw away, it's like
Yeah.
I want to explode. You know what I mean? So like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like everybody walking by is a potential customer. And you know what? The biggest buyers, they are for sure not being like, I've shopped for this big company. They're going incognito. You know what I mean? So like the little, person with the hoodie walking by, that could be like the top person that buys for 15 shops or whatever. So you got to treat everybody like, again, aggressive. To me, like, would you want to walk by and just see someone sitting in the booth on their phone, like just like not even looking up? Like, what? No way. It's the opposite. I want someone that's like tackling and dragging you into the booth and being like, here's our brand. Why won't you pick it up? Let me tell you about what we're doing, And then I'd say, like, the final part, if you can, and this is the future of everything, and I love it, is like the full brand experience, like we talked about earlier on the call, right? What's the story? What's going on with what your company does and what your brand does? Why is it different? You know what I mean? Because THC count is, of course, still the number one thing people care about today, but that will change. It will be about like the story behind the brand that you tell your friends or your coworkers or whatever it may be, or yourself, that you're like, I'm going to get this and not that. So I'd say that's the grand opportunity. A little bonus things would be like, if I were a brand, I'd like poll every single person I could, every buyer, 2 questions. Like just like start connecting, with everybody, because again, they're out there. When I did the trade shows as a consumer and as a brand owner for fashion, that's why I started my own trade show. And at the fashion trade shows, I was the last person packing up. The show ends at usually at 5 or 6, right? And by 3 or 4 or 5, everyone's like over it because they've partied too much the night before or whatever, and they like want to pack up early because no one's here or whatever, right? That's what used to happen in the fashion shows back in the day. And I would be like, nope, I'm there till fucking 8 o'clock if you let me. And then at 5 minutes before the show's over, 10 minutes before the show's over, there'd be a buyer from Brazil or from Michigan or whatever that would walk by and be like, man, my flight and this, and oh my God, I'm just like, this is kind of cool. Tell me about your stuff. And I would always write an order last minute.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Luke Scarmezzo, and who's an incredible, important person that wrote a book and went to prison essentially for having a dispensary in California. Luke Scarmezzo is the man. We love him. We support him. And and I talked to him recently, and I said, hey, you got to make sure that you guys are like at the booth till the end and stuff, you know what I mean? Because just what I'm telling you, right? Like, these are my little tips when I talk to people, like, how could, and he's like, dude, we're the last person out of there. Like, remember last time you walked around and we had a line still, and people next to me were breaking down already, and yeah, it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes before the end of the show, but what are you doing? You know what I mean? That could be like one extra thing. And again, the retailers need someone that's going to help them sell through. They need this more than ever. So they don't want someone that's maybe not as excited or active about the brand. So, that's what I would say.
That's really good advice, because how you are, there's a really good saying that my business partner always, I guess lack of a better word says, is how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Show me how you do one thing and I'll show you how you do everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. And
So
that quote, you and I, we like the quotes, you and and I notice that for myself now. So I've said it about people. Well, if I was like nervous about someone bringing on a staff member or working on with a client or whatever, I would say that. Well, like look what they did. Like, the first project is like a mess. You know what I mean? And but then I've used that on myself more. I'm more going like, oh, I'm just gonna half-ass this little thing, and I go, oh no, like, I want to be better. So it's weird. It's like we've had like reverse psychology on me. You know what I mean? But yeah. So anyway.
I love those brain hacks. Like, I love those. Everybody has their own way, their own operating system, and the moment you figure out how your brain works and you just use it correctly, oh my God.
Yeah. Quieting the lizard brain. You have to go see it. It is a few minutes long. It's perfect.
I definitely will.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Because you just realize that, like, oh, this is the thing that's stopping me. It's myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, the confidence and stuff. Do you follow Mark Galloway at all? Do you know who that is? Professor Galloway. He was an NYU guy. I think he lives in London now, or in England, maybe with his family. And amazing, profound thought leader, entrepreneur guy in the space, and really brilliant mind, and talks about mental health a lot. And you know, that's what this all kind of comes down to, right? Like, right, like what you're saying, even, like the show me how you do one thing, I'll show you how you do everything, or the lizard brain, or whatever this is. It all comes down to, like, not all of it, but a lot of it comes down to that, just to keep it, mental health in all these ways. It's not just therapy, right? It's grounding, and it's meditation, and it's, like reading, and it's all these things that you kind of don't realize the effect it has on you until maybe later on, So, yeah.
Rama, if I'm a retailer in Sacramento or somewhere that I have to fly, why should I go to Hall of Flowers?
Oh, well, that's okay. I shouldn't say it's an easy one in case you don't like these answers, but because there's hundreds of brands there, newest brands that you've never heard of before that are launching, that have unbelievable teams and products and stuff behind them, that have been incubating for years at some points. It's the perfect cross section of the market, so you can see exactly what's going on, what's popping, what's not. Take everyone's temperature. What else are you going there? This year, I have Chris Bianco coming to do a private dinner for buyers. He's like the pizza king of the planet. So this year, or this Ventura, even more, come eat Chris's pizza. That's a big deal. Bragging rights forever. And then retailers. I'm sure I should have even more answers to this, but it's like the entire industry's there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you're in the industry, it's like we're the Super Bowl, right? You know what I mean? You're telling me that you're in professional football, and we're invited, and it's free. Buyers come free. Mm-hmm. And we're telling you to come to the Super Bowl for free, and you're not showing up. What are we talking about here? It's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think we do have some holdouts of some buyers, right? Talking to you guys, and and the buyers are like, we have holdouts, but some of the ones that can't make it, we have like almost everybody basically. The ones that can't make it are either very, very far up North California, or if they're like, driving distance, or even up mid California, or even Sacramento or something. It's the shops that it's like a one person running it, and the patron is the buyer, and the shop owner, and is the key holder, and the HR and everything, and they're just they just physically can't make it to the show. Other than that, it's like, we're on the beach. It's unbelievable. The hotel, you can walk right from the show to the show, right from the hotel to your show, back and forth. Even if you have 3 meetings, you can walk right back to the hotel and have a meeting over there in your room or whatever. Every room has a balcony at the hotel, so you can smoke weed. Probably not legally. I shouldn't say that, but you can, everyone's smoking weed on the balcony. Hotel, sorry, I said that. But that's what happens probably. Maybe you cut that part for me. But anyway, and then, you park right there, literally, like you pull right up, you park, you walk right in, and it's built for buyers, right? Hall Flowers also, we talked about it earlier, I didn't really talk about this. It's built for buyers. My partner, he's an expert in building shows that are built for the wholesale process. So everything's intentional. We own the displays. We built everything from scratch. Like we design and build the show and the displays and the whole offering, so buyers can be effective. Like our job is like to optimize the buying process. Mm-hmm. So we do that, every day, and we never stop. Every day we're like, how can we make it better and better and better?
And I'm sure that a lot of brands, they save their latest and greatest stuff for Hall of Flowers.
Everyone's launching stuff at Hall of Flowers at this point.
Yeah, if you're a retailer, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, everyone's launching stuff at Hall of Flowers. The other thing I'd say is, you can get home by dinner time. If you're we're in the valley, basically. We're in Ventura, right? Which is, if you know Los Angeles, it's essentially west of Los Angeles, like an hour, whatever, west on the beach. Feels like north, but it's technically west. And there's like the valley up, in LA, which is where basically most of the people live. And you just pop right on the 101 back and forth. We have people that were like, I could go walk my dog, afterwards. I could go eat, dinner with my family, and I could go, see my kid. And he's like, they're so easy because I'm coming back tomorrow. They weren't even expecting to come back the next day. But it's just like we build it for complete convenience.
Are you launching something new this year? I read somewhere,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
where
launching two new things. We're launching Axis, 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 and we're launching Blueprint. Axis is like our version of like the executive kind of lounge club kind of thing. It's for people that maybe don't want a booth, but want to be at the show and try to like get, not display product or whatever, but do deals. So that's like, we have like, attorneys and like investors and like, some like brand owners and some big media people kind of thing that have all, they're like getting tickets and access. So it has its own little space in there. Super beautiful little room we're building out. We're not calling it VIP, but like it, it has that kind of feel essentially. And then, and those are tickets that you can apply for on the website, and you can, we can approve you and whatever. It's like we're telling no to a bunch of people because we just don't want, it's curating like a group within the group essentially. So it's difficult. And then we have Blueprint, which is a section of the show floor. And Blueprint is an expansion of what we've been doing. So Hall Flowers is there to provide, the solution to a problem, right? We're there to solve problems. And the main problem has been connecting California brands with California buyers. That's been the problem. We crushed it. The best ever. And then now the new problem is those California brands want to expand. They want to go to other states. And then they want new automation, and they don't want to have to go to other shows to see it. They want to just, have it brought to them. So we built a little area out. It's like 20 companies only. It's not like this crazy big thing, but it's super curated. And it's the best of the best from the extraction side, from the cultivation side, just like one or two of the best people that build that automation and make that run those manufacturing companies. We also have out-of-state operators. So we have a group that I'm friends with coming out from New England in the Northeast and New York called Starbase. We have two other ones, one coming from Arizona, one coming from New Hampshire. And they're looking, all of them, New York, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Arizona, they're looking to bring California brands to those places. So it's like we're not matchmaking, but we're trying to bring a new audience in. These guys, and women, entrepreneurs in California, they want to expand, and they want to automate. They want to use the best of the equipment. So we're kind of building that into its own little thing, kind of combining that area called Blueprint. And it's exciting. And we're working with Beard Bros on that. If you know Beard Bros, who are awesome, and Good Life Gang, who are really taking the lead there on bringing like the extraction to life and cultivation with the Beard Bros. And then there's a company called Blueprint as well, great minds think alike kind of thing, and they design facilities for cultivation all around the country. So they're involved as well, helping us curate it a little bit, and and they have a great name that we are using for this little section.
We have a segment where I just ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
And just to get to know you a little bit better. But before that, actually, is there anything else, Raman, that we haven't spoken about that you would like to share?
No, I think that's plenty. I talk a lot, as you can tell. So.
Okay, let's go. Rapid fire. What was the last book you read?
The Rick Rubin book, which I promise I didn't copy his beard. Great minds think alike again, I guess. The Rick Rubin book was the last one that I read.
What is your favorite piece of content that you've consumed that has changed your life?
Whopper Freakout by Crispin Porter Bogowski probably is my the thing that changed my life the most, marketing wise, business wise, is probably Whopper Freakout, which is like a behind the scenes look at what Crispin Porter Bogowski did for Burger King on a campaign. And it was just such a brilliant idea, and that then led me down the rabbit hole of like Alex Bogowski and marketing and all these kind of things. And then the impact that certain things have, because again, I'm like we do events for a couple thousand people. We don't do stuff for the masses. We don't do stuff for 20 million people, you know? So that stuff's interesting me. Like the you know, the influence that you can have on that level is scary, you know?
If you had to start over again in the cannabis industry, what would you start?
I mean, today, beverage company. Everybody on the planet has beverage, you know? So I would say like a D9 beverage, like 5,000 are launching every day, it seems like. That's interesting to me. I'm very bullish on beverage, as I've been saying for a long time. Another alarm for you, 1 second here. And then I would say, what would I do if I was doing cannabis again starting today? I mean, I mentioned this to you kind of before, but what I would do if I was starting cannabis today is I would go intern and shadow, essentially, someone like me, someone like Brad from 710, someone like Wonder Brett, someone like the team from, you know, Can or Pure Beauty or Alien Labs, you know what I mean? Or like the 50 other amazing brands that are at Hall of Flowers that I'm not, you know, mentioning. You know, just go really learn from it, you know what I mean? Like be a roadie, you know. We had like roadies and stuff and people that would come at the shows and then they'd be like hanging out with the band and they would start a band that would be like 3 times the size of the band that they were hanging out with. You know what I mean? So use all that, learn it, you know what I mean? It's priceless. You can't, this isn't taught in books and stuff yet, you know?
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, guys, take care.
Thanks for listening to the KayaCast podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcast app or visit our website to access the full archive of episodes from the show.